I'm Tarot Oracle, and this is my complete tarot course. Now we're going to go into card interactions. And card interactions is valuable because it does a lot of different things. If you're an experienced tarot reader, it allows you to have much more depth in your card reading. In other words, now instead of the basic, I'm going to read this card and tell you the definition, I'm going to read this card and tell you the definition, and then I'm going to give you a summary. That's basically what, 99% of the people that you see do. Instead of doing that, now you can summarize and add extra meaning and extra depth by telling how these cards interact with each other based upon the question and the reading. So, but just a reminder, again, this is a tarot course, so this is going to go slower than my other videos on card interactions, and it's going to be more exhaustive than my other videos on card interactions. So, it's just like you and I sitting down and me giving you a course. So, and we're going to go with different exercises and drills and stuff like that. So you're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be cool, man. Okay, so card interactions is cool because as well as a beginner, since you're obviously watching this, you're coming in as a beginner, it will allow you to instantly read the tarot. In addition to movie spreads where you can already see interactions between different characters, see this and that. This will literally allow you to read a lot of stuff out of the tarot. So you're going to be an intuitive reader, but a lot of times when your intuition doesn't start immediately and it takes a while, so like you just woke up and you want to do a reading, so your intuition is not quite active, or you're out of place in this new environment and you're kind of nervous and your intuition is a little, stealthed somewhere in the back of your head. So this allows you to make a lot of reading without any intuition whatsoever. So you can do the reading if you want without any intuition, or you can just kind of wait for it to catch up, or you can just add this to your intuition. So we'll cover card interactions. So the basics of card interactions is that the cards are alive. Like in the movie spreads, the cards are not only alive, in other words, they're having action scenes and things like these, but the cards interact with each other. So this allows you to lay out like 12, 15, 10 cards, 5 cards, and without, stress, or a lot of newbies will lay out a bunch of cards and get freaked out because they're like, oh crap, I got to memorize. I got to know the memorization of all these cards, and you don't have to anymore. So the more cards, the more interactions, the more fun you have. So feel free to lay out quite a bit of cards. So the basics of card interactions. Well, there's like a dozen or so, maybe like 18, 20 different types of interactions, and we're going to review them all. So this is going to take several hours. So get comfortable, grab your deck, and let's review some interactions. Well, what I want you to do, I want you to lay out 10 cards, basically. Lay out 5 here and then 5 above it. And I want you to follow along and go ahead and pause the video and lay out your 10 cards, 5 here and then 5 right above it. And once you have that ready, unpause the video and we'll look for some interactions. So the first interaction we have is a very basic one, and that is facings. In other words, a character, an animal, or something else in one card is facing another card. One of the advanced principles of facing is a character is facing away from another card as well. So you have to look for meaning in both. So we'll start out with facing towards. So the basic facing towards. So here we have the Page of Swords, and as you can see, he's kind of defending himself. He's getting ready in some sort of a ninjutsu stance here to defend himself, and he has a sword in hand, and he looks kind of anguished. Now, of course, just if you read the card by itself, he's defending himself against or practicing with this dummy. But if you look at the facing, he is facing this other card. Now, the other card is a 7 of Swords. Now, this guy is clearly stealing him some swords, and he's climbing out a window. And the page is facing him, ready to defend himself. So you do have the kind of feel here that you have a negative thing going on over here, and the page is watching it. So you do have the interaction of he's watching this, and obviously he's kind of nervous because he does have a sword in hand. So did he have a sword in hand before he started watching this? You never know, but most likely not. Most likely he could have been practicing and then he saw this and got a little anxious. So you do have a very defensive stance, a very defensive card, and on the other side of it you have some bad things going on with the whole darkness, the whole thievery type of deal. So in a reading, you can immediately look at this interaction and say, you know, you are, so let's go back to the basic question we've had all along, which is, I broke up with my boyfriend, and will we get back together, from, you know, the girl that's been asking this the whole time. So I imagine after 15 hours she won't want the answer, because there'll be so many different answers. But we'll look at the page, and the page is defending himself against this theft, or he's anxious and not really, is not really too comfortable being around that type of environment. Obviously, he looks fairly nervous. So in that reading, if you just do a 2-card reading for this person, it looks like that she is a little defensive of the bad things that happened during the relationship. It looks like that she wanted him to stay possibly, but in the long run, he left. So, and it looked like he left with a lot of her heart, or left with a lot of her possessions, or just a lot of her soul type of thing. So it looks like they were connected, but now she is still kind of recovering. She is still defensive from the bad things that have happened over here. So that's the basics of card interactions. You have the card interacting with another card, instead of just, I'm going to read this card, I'm going to read this card, I'm going to give you a summary. So it does introduce a lot more cool stuff. It does introduce a lot of exciting stuff into just a reading. So again, this is just 2 cards, so it's kind of boring. You're like, yeah, whatever. But I mean, once you throw down 10 cards, you're going to be like, whoa, there's a lot of crap going on here. So what I want you to do is just facing only. There's like a billion interactions. It could be this person's running over here, this person's avoiding the person. There could be barriers. There could be a lot of other stuff. But for now, we're just going to stick with basic. This card is facing this other card. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video, and I want you to go through all 10 of your cards and notice when any character is facing another character. And then I want you to ask yourself, number 1, is this person facing that other card on purpose, or did they happen, in other words, are they watching the other card purposefully? And, because there's something going on over there they're interested in, or did they happen to just notice it? So for my particular example, you can see that this person looks like he noticed this, he's been watching this, and he got defensive. Okay? So look at your cards and ask that question. Number 1, is that person facing on purpose because he was watching the whole time, or did he just happen to notice it and now he's kind of reacting to it like, whoa, or he's kind of reacting to it like, ooh, there's some good stuff over there. So what I want you to do, pause the video and take a look at all 10 of your cards and see if there's any facings. And obviously there should be if you have big characters in your cards. So then ask yourself the first question of, is it purposeful or is it not purposeful? And they've been, is it purposeful they've been watching, or did they just happen to notice? The second question I want you to ask, and we're going to, at the end of it, you're going to have like 50 different things to review, and I'll give you a quick PDF file and a link to that once we finish, and you'll have that available. But for now, I want you to just look at facings and ask those 2 questions. Is it purposeful? Is it accidental? And the second question, how is this person reacting? Is it like a good reaction, or is it like a bad reaction? Obviously, mine's going to be a bad reaction. It's not going to be a good reaction at all. So is it a good reaction? Is it a bad reaction? And how do you relate that to the question of, she broke up with her boyfriend, are they going to get back together? So pause the video and go through each of your 10 cards and look at each individual card. So like this, are these facing? Yes. Are these people facing? Yes. And then, is it purposeful? Is it accidental? And how is it affecting the other card? And then, how does that relate to the question of this girl's boyfriend? So the question of how does the facing affect the other card is pretty broad. So we're going to narrow that down a bit by, number 1, asking specific questions and seeing if that applies to how does it affect the other card, for example. So like a question of, how does this card affect this card? So, and you can reverse this too and say, how is this card affected by him seeing it and being all defensive? So the question is, obviously, he's a thief. He's not going to be the type that enjoys combat. He's going to go and steal it. He's not going to break in and kill somebody for it, type of thing. He's going to sneak out the back door. So he's probably not going to be keen on combat, but he does have more weapons than this guy, but you can only hold one sword. So what's going to happen if he turns around and sees him as being defensive? He's probably going to run off. So also remember that type of thing. So the next thing that we have is, in addition to facing and wondering how do these cards interact with each other, how do these cards affect each other as far as viewing is concerned, we also have things like hearing. If he's perfectly quiet, would he hear this person? Would this person hear him? And all sorts of other, things. So a lot of times maybe someone has psychic abilities and they can just kind of tell somebody's behind them. An interesting story for ninjutsu to get your 5th degree black belt, as far as the Ninpo Taijutsu formal thing in Japan, to get your 5th degree black belt, the sensei will hover over you with a shinai, which is a bamboo sword, and he'll be behind you, and in order to pass the test, you have to sense when he's going to whack you in the head, and you'll receive many whacks in the head during that process. So, interesting thing, another thing to think about with tarot cards. Weird story, but it does apply to tarot, believe it or not. So, alright, so enough of this type of thing. So you have your own 10 cards, and you have gone through piece by piece and saw which facings that you have. So the next thing I want you to do is to look at a different type of facing, and that is facing away. So sometimes we have a situation to where somebody is purposely facing away from, might help if I put it in view, the facing away from the other person or a situation. So with facing, as far as those are concerned, I want you to go back through your cards, and in addition to looking for people facing each other, or when they're facing each other, they could be having a conversation, or are they arguing? So kind of add that to your checklist mentally as far as why are they facing each other? Are they arguing? Are they kind of just viewing each other? Are they about to argue? What type of thing do you have going on in that regard when they're facing each other? When one is facing the other and the other is facing away, like you have here, so they're both facing away from each other, is that on purpose? So what I want to do now is I want you to pause the video again and go through your cards and look for people that are facing away from other people, or people that are facing away from situations. So here we have, this looks like a dualistic, almost a Gemini type of situation, and we have the good side, and looking in the mirror we have the bad side, and they're clearly connected. You can see here they are both connected. So I'm going to lower the camera a little bit, pardon the shake. Whoa-wee. Okay, so these are connected. You have the good side, you have the bad side of the same person. So, and here we have this person who is traditionally just a bad heartbreak type of card, but she's kind of wandering off away from this man, but she's wandering off as well away from this situation. So what I want you to do is combine the two situations. So here you have, she's wandering away from not only a man, but from a dualistic situation of looking at herself. So in this reading for the person with their boyfriend, I'm going to say that, you guys did break up. That's clear. It looks like maybe you walked away from the situation, and I don't think he was happy with it at all. I think he was fairly upset, and he wanted you back pretty bad. But what you wanted to not face, get it? Not face. What you wanted to not face is that you have a dualistic side of yourself. One side of yourself actually does want a relationship with him, and the other side of yourself doesn't. And one side of yourself is kind of open communication to where you'd be willing to work it out and things like that. But another side of yourself is really closed off and not willing to look at the situation. So as far as your breaking up with your boyfriend is concerned, it's clear that you left him. He wasn't pleased with it, as well as you refused to face the dualistic side of yourself. Okay, so there's my reading for this person with 2 cards. Well, based upon the question. She broke up with her boyfriend. Will they get back together? So what I want you to do is don't read yet. Okay, I want to split this into 2 parts. Number 1, I want you to go through all 10 of your cards that you have here, all 10 cards, and I want you to look for people facing away. Okay, and when you pause the video, do that. So identify the people facing away, and then ask yourself, why are they facing away? So sometimes when you're facing away from something, you really don't want to see it because you refuse to see it even though you know it's there. You know what I'm saying? So you know, like there's a car accident or there's like a really bad scene of a movie where somebody gets their genitals chopped off with a pizza spatula, or, you know, something weird, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to see that crap. And so you'll turn away. Now the point is that you know that that's going on. You know that that situation exists, but you're choosing not to face it. In other words, you're choosing to face away, ignore it, and do your own thing, and try to make it go away, basically. So when you have something facing away, I want you to ask yourself, is it because they want the situation to go away? Is it because they want the other person to go away? And they don't want to face it because they don't want to face that reality, okay? In addition, you want to ask yourself, I mean, again, the bigger, broad question, why are they facing away? But another reason they're facing away is they just don't know it's there. So maybe it's something they've never seen before. Maybe it's something that's looming, something that's dangerous and looming. Oh, here we go. Something that's dangerous and looming. Something dangerous and looming, and they're facing away from it because they don't know it's there. So it could be sneaking up on them. Let me get a good sneak up card. Please wait 2 hours while I find a sneak up card. So it looks like I'm not going to find a sneak up card. Okay, so I mean, maybe something's sneaking up on them. It's coming up. Dun dun dun. You know the Jaws theme. Insert the Jaws theme here. No, I won't insert the Jaws theme post editing. I swear I won't do it. Okay, so you have something looming, and they're not aware of it. So when you're thinking about facing, when you're looking at facings, and they're facing away, you got to ask yourself, do they know it's there? And if they do, maybe that's the reason they're facing away. So again, with a broader question of why the hell are they facing away? So I want you to pause the video, and number 1, I want you to find the people facing away. And then answer the question, why? And go through, you know, the things that I just kind of suggested. Make up your own. If you have a good idea of why they're facing away, and I'm not mentioning it, put it in the comments. Hey, I think they're facing away because of this and that. So be interactive, look at it, and figure out why they're facing away. Okay, and the second thing, once you've done all of that, I want you to give this person a reading with all 10 cards based upon the facing. So both facing away, both facing towards. I want you to relate all the facings to this person's question of they broke up with their boyfriend and will they get back together. So pause the video. This can take a while, I know, for 10 cards. But the cool thing is, it's like the more cards that you have with cards interactions, and we're not even starting. I mean, we're not even warmed up on cards interactions. There's so much of the crap. It's all like awesome. But the cool thing is too is the person sitting on the other side of the table that you're giving a reading to, you can point out the interactions, and you can say, you know, looks like you're not facing the looks like you're not facing the heartbreak that you had. I mean, you can see this, can't you? You're not facing the heartbreak. You're almost kind of moving away from the heartbreak. I mean, what do you think about that? And then they'll answer you, and I mean, it's like a really cool reading. And then the person on the other side of the table is going to be able to identify stuff that you missed. So because they're going to say, well, you know, not only that relates to me, but these other 2 cards here, I think that explains something else. And it's really cool because now you're interacting with your querent or your, you know, the person on the other side of the table. Now you're interacting with them in a whole new way. I mean, now they don't have to, because most people that come for a tarot reading know tarot pretty well. I mean, oddly enough, and I mean, 90% of the people know tarot pretty well that come to readings for paid readings. So now you've introduced a whole new thing. Now they don't have to try to remember what this card means, what this card means. They can just start looking at pictures, man. You can just start having a party with facings and a party with obstacles and a party with movement and, you know, barriers and spatial barriers and all this stuff. And you can point all this crap out to this person and be like, oh, that is so cool. And then they'll help you out. In other words, they'll notice things that you did not. So it's a cool way to connect with the person, again, across the table, and it's a cool way to add a lot of depth to your reading. So again, we're just getting warmed up. Go ahead and pause the video, identify your facings away, and identify why on all of those. And after all of that, relate this to the lady's question. So I'm going to pause the video, and here we go. So now I'm going to do a 5-card reading with only facings, okay? So I know that there's 10 billion card interactions, and you'll get to see all of those soon enough. But let's see, camera's kind of wobble. Let's go here. All right, sorry for the wobble. All right, but we do have the card interactions, and we're doing facings. So I'm going to go through a 5-card reading with the question of, she broke up with her boyfriend, but, you know, are they going to get back together? So we're going to do facings only. So it appears that you did indeed break up with him. It looks like that you left him. And I think that he was very upset, obviously, as anyone would be with somebody leaving him. But I think you left with some pieces of him. In other words, I think you left with some, either some things of his or some pieces of his emotions kind of still hung up on that stuff. And you left and you're kind of facing the fact that you have, in other words, you're facing the fact, dun, 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 insert joke here. Okay, you're facing the fact that you have a dualistic side of yourself. I think on one side that you're kind of happy that you left him and everything is okay. Great. I won't edit that out because I'm too lazy. Okay, so you're facing the side that you have a dualistic side of yourself. One is like a happy side that you have here, and another is a sad side where you're kind of tied up and you're kind of miserable about the whole thing. But what I want you to realize is that the miserable, the more sad side is less prominent because it's like a reflection. It's almost like a reflection. It's not almost real, you know, in your mind. I think the real part of you, the part that's outside and available to you, is going to be pretty happy and pretty content because you broke up with him and because you still have the remnants of him in your mind and stuff. I don't think you're going to get over it anytime soon. But again, you're asking if you'll get back together. Obviously, you haven't gotten over that. But just realize that the sad side, the part that you missed him, is more of a reflection and less real, much less real than the side of you here, where you have the happier side, the kind of the more free side that's not as restricted. Now, as well as you are facing the dualistic side of yourself here. But what you're not facing, what you're not facing is the fact that you do have some grief to go through. It's apparent that you have some grief. You have a lot of things going on. Obviously, you're going to lose some sleep. You've lost some sleep in the past. You're probably going to lose some more sleep over it because you're still kind of hung up on him. You're asking about getting back together with him. But you're just not facing that whole grief side. I think you need to take a little time to grieve and take some time to reflect back and just to make sure that everything's kind of closed as far as a relationship is concerned, especially if he's not interested in things like that. So just kind of, watch your mind. Make sure you have control over your thoughts and things like that. And just don't let him be just a large part of your thoughts when in reality he doesn't like you or he doesn't want to have a relationship with you or anything like that. So it looks like you have good times ahead. This is not card interactions, this is movie spreads. So the next scene of the movie is good times. Da-da, good times. Okay, so, but it does look like you have good times ahead. And I think that's because that once you get control of your thoughts, once you get everything closed out, once you get the dualistic side of yourself a little bit under control, realize that you do still have a part of him in your heart when you left. That there's going to be family and friends and things like that. They're going to be there to support you, and I think that you're going to have some good times ahead. I think everything's going to work out, especially just this happy card and all this other good stuff. I think maybe you have another relationship, I think, from this coming, and but you do have some brighter future ahead once you get through the grief and once you get through the wanting and the missing him and all this other stuff. Now, the last card we have is the page, and the page is facing the void. And we're going to talk about the void in a later video. But the void is basically, it's like 50 different things. We're going to talk about all of them. We're going to do exercises on all of them. But I'm just doing a quick reading right here, so I'm talking really, really, really fast. So the last part of this is I do think you have another relationship coming, but you do have a barrier against this relationship because I think you're not really understanding what relationship is coming, but I think there is one coming. And I think it's kind of a mystery to you right now because you do have all this extra baggage And when this person comes in your life, I think it's going to be quite interesting and probably, something that you're not ready to deal with at this time. But just realize that there's some good times coming. So that's basically how I would read this, just facing only. So there's my facing reading. So now that you have all of that good stuff, let's move on to the void. Dun 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 dun.